So we're rolling.
Rolling.
I'm very excited about this.
Really?
We've been trying to organize this for like a year now.
Yeah, the first time I was sick. And then the second time you canceled because you had to work, which I get. And then the third time, I don't even remember life.
But we've been discussing this for quite a while.
We have.
Quite some time now.
We've been discussing it before Chris was in the picture.
Yeah.
Hey. I'm here in the picture.
You're in the picture now, which is great. But like, Dave has been talking about this for like years. He's like, I want to play with the community. And he didn't know what. And it kind of turned into the podcast. Which is kind of cool.
It kind of started off with talking about foster care and me sharing my story. And I thought I was going to go down. My mic sounds funny. Does it sound like muffled to you?
Not really.
This is all new to me.
I don't know. I feel like I sound weird, but it's probably just because I'm hearing myself.
So I thought that this sounds funny. Hold on a second. We're going to pause.
Mic check.
Anyways, we're back.
We're back.
We're back. We're live.
We're back with life.
Yeah. I didn't do anything with the microphones. It still sounds funny to me, but we'll roll with it. So
I mean, I kind of hear what you're talking about, but I don't know.
All right. So
is it me?
anyways, with the podcast, like I wanted to start it off with me sharing my story and then kind of like exposing a lot of the things in foster care, because there's a lot of shady things that go on. And I found out a lot of different shady things, like with other people's stories and just things that I've witnessed with like different kids that have been in foster care, with other people that I knew. So I wanted to kind of expose some of those stories and then also raise awareness for it and then hopefully like try to like change the system. But it's such a difficult system. Like because the thing is, like, I wanted to interview like social workers, like foster parents, like maybe foster care directors. But the problem is with that is they're such a tight knit community that they're not able to talk a lot about the different things going on.
Because a lot of it, so I'll just preface this here. I already told you, but my husband and I are foster parents. And so I can kind of understand where they're coming from. Like our social worker, when we were in that process, she was kind of explaining things. And she's like, I can't go any further because it will expose their case. It could be detrimental in their court case. Like there's just a lot of things that we don't think about that, we want to know, but it's for the child's safety. And it comes to a frustration point when you want to try to, interview them and talk with them, but they have to, keep the child's safety in mind. Well,
that, and like, I know somebody who's a social worker, and like they have rules in place for social workers to not talk to media. Like they legitimately do not want you to go talk to anybody within media because it can open up for lawsuits. And the specific person I'm thinking of works for like Bethany Child Services or whatever. So it's a pretty big organization.
They might have a liaison of some sort.
They might.
They might. And like, I don't know. I see the frustration. Like that would be kind of frustrating, like if you were in their shoes. But I also see the other side of it. But like, I see why there's those in place.
Yes and no. But the thing is like a lot of social workers will tell you, and foster parents will also tell you that there's not enough resources available, and for them to even do their job. And that's a problem. But the only way to change that problem is to actually talk about it and to publicly talk about it. That way there could be more resources put towards those things.
Yeah, and like on the resources aspect, like there's not a lot of resources for people who are trying to become foster parents. Like it's kind of like you get thrown in.
What is that process like?
Yeah, so there's a lot of things. It took us 9 months, basically 10 months, roughly around there. I lost count after 5 months. That's how, like, there's stacks of paperwork you got to fill out. Solo interviews you have to do with the licensing worker. There's a house interview that you have to do. They have to come in your house and see if it's adaptable for having a child and safe enough. You have to, not have certain things on a lower level because it could, be harmful.
Right.
Like, there's just a lot of things I didn't think about my house until we had people walk through it. Your water has to be a certain temperature. I understand that one, but, you don't think about it on a daily basis. There's certain things your house can't be around, like a lake, or if you have a pool, there's certain steps, things like that.
You can't have a house on a lake.
Well, it's
you
funny.
could, but you'd have to go through other steps. Like
we have a veal pond, so it comes back every year. So it was there when she was there. So she's like, "Oh, you have to count that, even though it disappears."
Because a child, anything that a child could hurt themselves with, like. having 2 dogs, they have to take record of, and they have to be like, okay, if this happens, you have to do this, or if this happens, you have to go through this protocol.
Can you move the mic slightly closer?
I can.
Yeah, it's
Okay, close. We're getting real personal, guys.
good. Good. Let's get personal.
Let's get
You know
you should
what?
have the podcast like
That's
it's
a good
memo,
shirt
let's
idea.
Get personal.
That's a good shirt idea.
It's a good mug
It
idea.
is,
Let's get
actually.
personal. A good mug. Let's get personal.
I'm gonna do it.
Do it.
That's
Do
a
it.
really good idea.
Send me a
like
copy.
it.
Walking
I'll buy one.
advertisement. Like,
That's a really good idea.
$10.
Thanks for that idea.
you're welcome. This is why we had to be on the podcast. This is just.
Let's get personal.
I
Let's
like
get
to buy
personal.
stuff that's like personal.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, me
I guess
too.
I'll go on a different avenue of foster care. Like, people probably wondering, like, oh, so they just jumped into this process. Oh, no. No.
What made you? I mean,
Well, I was going to go into that. So, first of all, my husband and I were deciding, like, what we want to do with our life. Like, when we want kids, things like that. I'm trying to finish my bachelor's. And so I was just kind of like, well, we want kids, but I don't know if I want to have our own kids right now because that's a permanent commitment, which is awesome, fantastic, something we do want to do. But I was like, well, what can we do as a temporary solution? That sounds horrible. But that was kind of where we were thinking. And, we were kind of brainstorming and, praying about it, things like that. And it kind of came to our mind of, well, we could do foster parenting because that is a big need in the Lansing area, in any area.
it's an overwhelming need.
It is. Because a lot of
Yeah.
people want to do, like, infants and just do infants. They're not even open to, like, siblings or older. We just couldn't
Gus
do that
kind of,
because we
yeah.
didn't have the space for it. But it's not like we're not open to it in the future.
Right.
whatever's
So-
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of where we're standing. And so we just kind of went through the process and we were like, I say this, so, like, a lot of people say this term and they'll just kind of mean it as whatever. But, like, we were going by faith, literally. Like, if something passed, I was like, okay, I guess we're doing this. And then something would kind of align and I was like, okay, I guess we're doing this. Like, I was still over here like, I don't really want to do this, but I guess we're going for this.
You didn't want to do it?
Well, I did, but I just wasn't.
It just seemed like a lot, overwhelming.
Yeah, because there was a lot of paperwork, a lot of steps, 9 months, 10 months, but
It was like having a baby.
kind of. But, I mean,
That's
it was
good too.
in some ways it was more complicated than having a baby because there's a lot of paperwork, a lot of preparation.
Yeah, it's a lot more responsibility for somebody else's kids.
That's true. But like in a way, like it makes me honored that they think that, oh, they're gonna trust me with their child. Like
Yeah.
it's if you had to have your child stay with somebody, you're gonna want them to stay with somebody that you trust, who they're safe, things like that, and like the fact that they think we're safe and honorable, things like that. Like it just, I don't know, kind of puts a badge of honor on you, but kind of doesn't at the same time.
Yeah.
It's also a humble because it's like, we could have a case where it's not easy or it could be easy.
Well, I
So-
think that I don't know how much you want to talk about it, but I know that like obviously you were in foster care and you had, from what I witnessed, and a very loving home, a family that really
Yes.
cared about you and wanted what was best for you. And so I would imagine that having that experience would probably want, like, it would probably give you that, you would probably want to like pay that forward essentially.
Yeah. That was kind of a contributing factor. Like I knew it was possible because
Yeah.
well, my parents did it and they adopted. Like they committed to that child, not just for the time they were in foster care, but for their whole life. And like, yeah, we might not be saying the whole life right now, but still we have that responsibility and that commitment while the child's in our home. So that kind of like, for me, I was like, okay, I'm not by myself. I can do this. I was pep talking myself through this process. I was like, well, I mean, my husband's said go for it. So that's kind of where we were. How did you feel, honey, through the process?
The process was interesting, but the need was necessary, and also necessary for us and probably the community. I think I heard we were up Clinton County. They had a free store for like donated stuff for like just for foster parents.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Which we got like one or two things, but
Yeah, that was really cool. So while we were in the process, there was a couple things like you could get, like, we didn't have a bunch of like clothes the sizes. So I reached out to them. I said, hey, we're in the process. They want us to have a nursery by month 6 because they want to see how it goes. Like I said, my house got babyfied really quick. plug covers, and they were able to help us out a little bit, which was kind of cool that they have that resource.
Is that
for
place in
foster
like
parents.
Ypsilanti or Ann Arbor area?
Just north of here.
Just
Okay.
north. Yeah, it's like
40, 30 minutes.
30
maybe.
minutes.
Clinton County is
Clayton
just
County,
northeast
right.
of here.
Okay.
Actually, just north of here.
Yeah. Wow. What's that place called?
I can't remember what the store was called, but the lady
to look it
there
up.
she was saying it was kind of a mini miracle because that day she was saying when we were there, she said a lady at her church, I think it was Faith Church next Eastwood, that area, had actually spoken and said there was a need for foster parents, and so that was really significant. And then we've also had other little, they're like blessings, I guess you could say. And we had one at Waypoint Coffee.
Oh, that's true. Okay, so during this process, Waypoint Coffee is in St. John's, and you know how like they give you that sleeve, and it was like save a life, and it had a foster agency on it, and I looked at Chris and I said, "Well, if that's not a sign, I don't know what is." Like it's on my coffee cup, I was like, it gets real when it's on your coffee cup, But no, that was just like, I don't know. God had his little hints of blessings here and there that kind of reassured me through the process because half of me was like, I could do this. I was there. And then half of me is like, but wait, infants, they're a lot of work. But then the half of me was like, but that's okay. Like, we can do this. So that's kind of how we got there and where we are now, literally just taking day by day, hour by hour.
Do you know how many kids are in foster care in Michigan? Do you know the number?
They went over it.
Oh yeah, we did go over that. It was pretty high.
It was pretty high.
Yeah.
What are
10,000?
the percentages of toddler or infant foster kids in Michigan? Do you know?
They went over that too.
Is it quite significant?
I feel like infants, it's not as much. I feel like it's more toddler and older because a lot of the families.
I was looking it up. Yeah.
Because a lot of the families want to do infants. That is a big need. That is what they did say. That's why it's taken us so long. Is because that's a really high commodity. That's how they said it.
Commodity.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. But they.
Yeah, that's horrible to say.
It is horrible.
No.
That's horrible. I didn't say it. They said it.
That's true.
But it's probably true. I mean, most people.
It's a high sought thing. People want it.
Right. Most people don't want like a teenager, somebody who's troubled.
Yeah, or
they
like
want to,
a 2-year-old,
It's
3-year-old.
just,
Terrible twos.
Yeah.
People, but those are the most childs that need it most.
Right.
The older, which people don't think about. They want the baby, which is okay. If people want to do that, they can do that. But I think the percentages were higher for older, if I remember correctly.
So it says in Michigan, there are approximately 10,000 children in the foster care and nearly 200 children who still need an adoptive family.
Yeah.
We need you. Okay. We need your help to provide a safe, nurturing home. This is, I think, some Health and Human Services. That's their website. Okay, this is May 13th, 2022.
Okay. I knew it was a high number. I remember being shocked. I remember being like, there's no way, because one thing that like sometimes I wish would happen with the whole foster system, but then I understand why it doesn't, is I wish there was more awareness like of the actual need than there is.
Well, I think there is slightly, because one of the things that really bothers me about the whole foster care system, and it should bother anybody, is they have radio ads. I don't know if you've heard them. Like, anybody can be a foster parent. All you need is like a home and blah blah blah. And like, I'm like, not anybody can just be a foster parent. Like, it takes somebody who's loving, somebody who's caring, somebody who's compassionate to want to raise a kid that's not
somebody
theirs.
Who has the time and patience and the home. Like, you have to go through, like, they don't just hand you a child. You have to go through interviews, like home inspection frequently. Every time the social worker visits, your home's inspected.
Well, and that's how you get people who do it just for the money.
That's true.
Right.
Like, you're pandering to a certain crowd when you,
which is the wrong audience.
Yeah,
I understand that like people want to do things to survive, but if you're gonna endanger a child's life so you can just have the money, that really just peeves me, because I'm like, this child could be in danger, and you're not actually showing love and affection. You say you are, but start putting your actions where your mouth is.
One thing I found really interesting, within I think the last 2 years, actually it might have been 2 years ago when I got all my documentation from the foster care system from when I was in the foster care system. It's like a stack of papers like this. I have it somewhere, I think, in here.
I have it.
Do you? Like from all the court records and everything?
I don't know about the court. I know I have the file.
So I have like everything from like our social workers.
Nice.
I have everything from the therapists, like what they've said. I've had everything from like what my foster parents or adopted parents said to the therapist or to my social worker.
Interesting.
And one thing that I found it actually bothered me like really bad because about my past. Everybody who's listened to my podcast probably knows about my past.
I had a pretty rough past. He doesn't know too much.
You don't know? Okay. So my adopted mom, she was just like extremely abusive and terrible, including before I was adopted. I mean, right after I was adopted, I was 11 years old. She beat me. She threw me into a refrigerator, kicked me in the stomach, and was arrested. This was like a couple months after I was adopted. And she was able to maintain her foster care license after that. And after that, she ended up getting several other foster kids that she also abused, and I witnessed it. And I reported it several times, even for myself, and they did nothing. And the foster care agency didn't even know that she was arrested for child abuse. And so I told them when I called them one time, because they weren't doing anything, I told them, I was like, she was arrested for child abuse. You guys don't even know about it. And they came out to investigate it, and they're like, they literally told her this because I heard it. Don't let it happen again. If it happens again, then we'll take your license. And that moment right there was a huge eye opener for me. I'm like, there's a problem here.
Yeah.
Like
I didn't know about the fridge, but I knew about everything else.
Yeah. Yeah. So anyways, I have all this documentation, right? And I think sometime I should go over it on the podcast because it's really interesting. But one thing that really bothers me is that, and I kind of get it, but I kind of like, it frustrates me. In my specific documentation, she would state, and it said my foster mom specifically would state to the social worker how difficult I was. And there's different levels for the difficulty of children. And so like if a child's more difficult, you get more money for them. And you can progressively go through the documentation and see like within a few months of her trying to like cause these issues, or her saying that there's these certain issues that are going on. And so then they start raising like the difficulty level. So then she starts getting more money each time. Yeah. And I think that's a huge problem. Like just to be able to claim that somebody is this difficult. I mean, because a lot of the problems that happen in the house, she created. So I don't know.
Yeah. Like bringing it back to kind of what you said, like people shouldn't be doing it for the money. Like,
yeah, absolutely.
I think if people are going to be foster parents, something they really need to think about is, okay, I need to treat this child like they're my own. And a lot of people don't think about that. They're like, oh, I get the money, I get the looks, I get the new friends, the new social groups, whatever. That's cool, but that's not what it boils down to. It boils down to the parents, the foster parents' relationship with the child and how they're impacting the child. And that's what a lot of people don't think about.
Yeah, I agree.
So I would say in that situation, your foster mom didn't think about your relationship and your well-being. She just did it for herself.
Well, in many ways, she did it for herself,
but that's just me not knowing everything. But that's just me going off of what.
No, she definitely did it for herself. Not just with me, but there was different scenarios where like she would get a foster kid and then she would call everybody and be like, I just got this kid. Like it's almost like a clout thing. And so that's definitely a problem. But that's one thing I wanted to raise awareness about was, like people doing it for the wrong reasons and why you should do it for the right reasons. And so I ended up not going down that path ultimately, but
that's interesting to bring out the point about like people say, oh, I got a new placement. Like, I guess like I would just say it out of excitement, but now I see where it could be seen as like, oh, like that's interesting you bring up that point. Like I would never want people to think, oh, she's just doing that because she's trying to like brag in a way. You know what I mean? Like, no, that's, I get that.
I think people's intentions will shine through.
Yeah, that's true.
Like if you're doing it for the right reasons and you're excited for somebody to come into your home and you're taking care of them and you're doing it for the right reasons,
right.
People will see that. I mean, they'll just see that you're like genuinely excited about it.
Yeah.
Whereas like if you're somebody who like in my adopted mom's situation, where whenever she got somebody new, she would run around the whole church and be like, "Oh my gosh, look at this little new kid that we got!"
Okay,
Like,
yeah.
you know,
That's
I don't know.
unfortunate. Yeah, no, I
So,
get that, but like,
that's not
I
good.
would just want people to see like, oh, I'm excited to like love on this child, like not to like be like, oh, look at me, you know what I mean? Like,
Right.
but it's good that you brought that up. I never really kind of thought about that, but see, this is why we do a podcast. We're getting real, you
Yeah,
know?
it's good to just unpack
Getting
and then
real,
be like,
yeah.
what's going on with everything?
yeah.
But like, see, I guess I'll say it from my perspective growing up. So it's interesting that you kind of had that like, see, my adoptive parents, they like, they say it like this. They say, you know, they had 3 boys and then they chose me. And so they came it from a side of excitement. Like they weren't doing it for the money. My mom would say like, oh, it's not for the money at all. Like they would care less. It was making an impact on the child's life. And it eventually led to, you know, my dad was military. So I got to travel around every 2 years, got to see some places that I wouldn't have got to see, met some people I wouldn't have got to meet, like just had a different whole life than what it could have been just because a couple decided to, you know, go out of their comfort zone and love on a child. And I think that's what people need to realize is sometimes you have to get over, I had to get over the, okay, well, I'm not going to be perfect. Like no one's perfect. You just got to do it.
Well, and I think that goes back to doing it for the right reasons,
Right,
and
yeah.
how it'll shine through. Because like that's one thing I seen with your adopted parents. Like it made me want to cry at your wedding when,
Oh, really?
yeah, like
Aw,
they treated you
that's
like
sweet.
they treated you like you were their daughter. Like,
Oh, yeah.
you know there was like no difference whatsoever.
No, so one thing my dad said, and I think he even said it like to the social workers, and I think I don't know if it got said in court, whatever, but he said the minute she becomes ours, it's no different. She's my daughter no matter what. And like I never understood that until actually my wedding. Now that you bring that up, I was looking at pictures today, making a book. It's funny how life happens. But like I saw that, you know, genuinely, it was like he was giving me away. It wasn't just, oh, well, she's not blood related, so we're going to keep that divide. No, it was never like that growing up.
Yeah.
Which, unfortunately, in some cases, kids get treated like, oh, well, just because you're not blood, we're going to bring you down here. And that's not right either.
Well, and that's what that's really interesting because that like you and I have completely opposite
Yeah,
experiences.
yeah,
Whereas
do.
like I can see like in your situation that you were completely loved.
Yeah.
And in my situation, like if you go back and look at pictures, like there's
You weren't loved.
I wasn't loved, but there was like a distance. Like I remember there was what do you call it? Like I think you were there at our church when we had like a dedication service.
Oh, I remember that.
And we have
I think there's pictures. I don't know if I actually.
there's a
maybe I might
picture.
remember.
Go back and try to find that picture.
Okay.
Because I don't even think I have it. But
I'll have to look.
Joey is standing, I think, in front of my mom, and like they're like hugging on him, and there's a clear distance between
Yeah.
me and them. Like there's a gap.
Well, I remember
And
one
almost
time.
every picture's like that.
I remember one time when we met in the summer and had like a picnic, and I went up to hug you, and your mom got really weird, and I was like, she was like, "Why are you doing that?" I'm like, "Because he's my brother." To her, she was kind of seeing like the gap, like you were talking about, like you guys. You know, yeah, you're siblings, but you don't live in the same lives. But in my head, I was like, we do live in the same lives. We're just separate. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I never saw a divide.
Yeah.
Like, the older I got, the more I didn't see it, if you know what I mean. Because a
Yeah.
lot of people will be like, oh, well, they're your, biological brothers. I'm like, what's your point? They're
Yeah.
my brothers. Like, you can shush and move on. You know what I mean? Like, they're the same. Like, a lot of people in society put that, gap. They're like, oh, just because you lived a different life and you went through this and you are blood related, but you are over here, then we're gonna keep this divide.
I think
Well,
that's one
no.
thing that whole experience has taught me, that like you don't have to have blood in order to be close. I mean, because like my adopted brother William, him and I are pretty close. Like we're actual brothers. Like
Yeah.
like
He's
if
super
we
cool.
if we hang out, no, he's not.
Oh, ouch. He just roasted you on his podcast. Ouch. Okay.
But the thing is, like, him and I are so close. Like, like you would think that, like, we were actual brothers. Like, I remember him and I going to the mall as teenagers, and we'd be flirting with girls or whatever, and they'd be like, "Oh, you guys are brothers. We could totally see the resemblance." Like, no, you can't. We're not even related.
I
Throw
would
your
get that,
back
like,
on.
I would get that with my not biological brothers. I would get, oh, you guys all look alike. And, like, my mom would be like, sometimes she would say, oh, well, she's not, like, blood related. But then she just finally said, well, it's a long story. Like, after a long time, it just gets weird saying, like,
Is that something that you got sick of explaining?
Yes.
Because
Oh, yes.
oh my gosh.
People would be like, why is she so short? Or why is her hair so blonde? Like, people would say those things. And it was like,
Try being somebody who has dark complexion compared to everybody else.
oh, yeah, I didn't think about that as well. See, I don't like stereotypes. So.
Yeah, I wouldn't guess that. You know.
No. I mean, it's something that like going through like that, like through a situation like that, it really teaches you lessons. It really teaches you that like if like being blood really does not matter because like there's a thing like I mean, I don't not to throw anybody under the bus, but like there's people that I'm related to that are blood relatives, and they do not have anything to do with me. And I've tried to have relationships with them, and they still like for some reason just can't get over their own stuff because they can't get out of their own way and have a relationship.
I'm kind of there myself because like in the past, like see how deep I want to go. Let's see how real I want to go here.
Let's be real. Let's get real.
Well, there's a difference between talking to my brother and talking to an audience, you know.
That's true.
So I'll just generalize this one, and I think you can kind of fill in the blanks. But in the older I've gotten and the more family history and stuff that I've found out about our past that was kind of, I would say, hidden in a way, has made me kind of want to like dig myself and kind of see and like reach out. But it's also, like you said, it's put up barriers with certain family members that are like, well, I'm not going to give you that information because you're seeing it this way. Well, okay, I haven't gotten the other side. So how am I supposed to see it? Not throwing anybody on the bus, but how am I supposed to see it the other way? You know?
Right.
That's where I'm going to leave that. But.
Well, I mean, and that's where like, you know, being your own independent person and being somebody who has gone through the things that you've gone through, even though like you may not remember them because you were so young, it's still up to you to figure out what actually happened and to determine what both sides of the argument were. Like, and that's exactly what I did. And it really made people angry and it caused a wedge between relationships. And the thing is like, it's only fair. You know, for somebody who was taken away from their parents and their siblings and put through all this trauma and all these bad experiences in life, ultimately have a better life now. But like growing up, it was terrible. Like, I mean, if I was any other person, I probably would have killed myself. Yeah. And you know, it's like going through all of that to not know anything is pointless. Like, you have to figure it out. You have to figure out how you got there, why you're there, and try to like mentally like
and like
I don't know, prepare yourself for. I don't know. It's just like I don't know.
It's something that like frustrated me talking with certain family members is just like you said, they would get upset about the way you heard it. And it's like, well, okay, my siblings went through it. You just saw it from the outside. You weren't actually the one in it. And like that to me gets to a frustrating point because it's like the people start accusing and things like that. And it's like, yeah, but these are the people going through it, and I was actually in this situation, not you. I'm glad you got to sit back and watch it all, but you know what I mean? Like,
well, it's a selfish thing to do to expect, you know, the people who were actually affected by the situation to not want to ask questions, like to expect them to just accept it for whatever they think it is and just move on. It's a selfish thing to do.
So I have a question for you since we're getting real. So based off your past and like what you went through as a child and teen and things like that taught you, I'm sure, a lot, like how you would want to parent in life. Like, how is it having your own kids? Like, do you see a lot of yourself, your siblings? Like, how is that all kind of
That's
working?
a really deep question. I think that for me, I definitely see like myself in my kids. In good ways and bad ways. I see the good things and the bad things, which is, you know, it's kind of cool to see, like, as like knowing that I was able to create something like that. And it's interesting to see like that biological connection, because that's something that like I remember seeing until I was 9 with, you know, with our mom. But then after that, like I have nothing. So it's cool to see that in my kids. But like one thing that, like having kids, I always knew that I didn't want the same situation for them. Right. And I always wanted better for them. And I still do. I still want better for them. I don't want them to experience any of the things that I've gone through.
Yeah, that's...
Now, like, as far as like parenting, skills and everything, that's something that you develop over time. you get better, you learn how to parent those specific children. Cause like somebody might tell you like in this situation, this is how you handle it, but it might not work for that kid. So you got to like figure out what works and what doesn't. In that process, you'll mess up. You're not going to be a perfect parent. I mean, everybody gets frustrated, they get angry, they get upset. So it's up to you to figure out like how you want to manage that. And for me, that's something that like, you know, I'm not perfect at it, but I want to not get angry. I don't want to raise my kids in fear, like how I was raised, like in foster care, because that's how I grew up. I was like fearing my adopted parents. I was fearful of like how they would react, and or like if like something minor happened, like if I told a little white lie, like the punishment was so great. It was like I'd get grounded for months. And so
it makes me think of something. I don't want to cut you.
No, you're good. Go ahead.
It made me think of like with somebody messing up this a system that's supposed to be right and orderly. It seems like this concept of ends justify the means kind of thing, where it's like, oh, we need all hands on deck, so we're going to compromise. And like maybe with like manufacturing sometimes or whatever, they're like, I don't know, but
I definitely get what you're saying with that, because like working at GM, like they have a certain way of doing things until they don't have manpower. Then they're like, do whatever you need to do.
They're like, we don't care anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that kind of what you're like getting at?
Yeah, I was just thinking of that theme generally, because it seems to be like a really common thing today that people justify ends justifying the means, that concept in their lives and in businesses and government and churches, which is the worst because they're supposed to be the example of like.
Can you give me an example of like how you see it happen? Like,
let's see, practically, and
you're gonna get a whole paper here.
That's good.
Let me see. I believe in like procreation. So like, let's see. Some people might think ends justify the means, where they can, like try to control everything in this way that doesn't produce life, and in order to make it easier, to justify that means of making life easier by controlling and manipulating nature and natural systems of right and orderliness. I think that's at the root of a lot of it, but it's really difficult.
So kind of like micromanagement in a sense of different situations.
But I think we are supposed to do that a little, but not to the degree.
But to not micromanage somebody specifically to the point where like they're fearful of just coming to you and discussing things with you.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I don't know. It's kind of a broad topic. So. That's usually where I go though.
In broad topics, or
yeah, I go with like 37,000 feet or more, depending on your view of.
Well, let's drop it on a pinpoint
of the Earth. Yeah.
But back to like the child raising. My mind's just going 100 miles an hour, so good luck. So you have 100,000 feet dropping to going 100 miles an hour, so good luck. But I've worked in childcare for like a little bit, and like I get what you're saying, where like parents, they like to tell the like what was the word I'm thinking of, the caregivers like at the child development places how to raise their kids, and it's like I understand that, I understand your concerns, but you're not with them 24/7 right now. We will try to adapt to your concerns as much as possible, but if it's life or death,
Yeah, that's one thing, like, raising kids is people would always tell you, like, this is how you should do it. And this is, like, and, excuse me, it's that Sprite.
This is why you don't drink pop and talk.
So what I was going to say about that is some stuff has Cinnamix in it.
Okay.
I think it's called. And it's basically
just
infant stem cell clone baby.
See, you said this before the podcast, and I wanted to.
I wish you didn't bring it up on the podcast.
No, we're gonna
Oh, boy.
research this.
Don't take our word
not to
for
prove
it.
you
I don't-
wrong
What
or
was your
anything.
point?
But,
So no, I actually would like to be proven wrong.
I would like to be proven
Which
wrong
all
because
the
if it's
manufacturers
in
want that
everything
too.
and you can't eat anything basically
you
if
can
it's
eat
in
tons-
it. I mean,
just-
you can eat it.
It just makes you
it's
not
like-
eat snacks, eat snacky, crappy foods like Cheetos, which
So
I
processed
love
food.
Cheetos, especially the big ones.
I know Cheetos
But-
are great.
so what is it called? Cinemix?
Cinnamix or
Cinnamix.
something.
I don't
So
think
there's-
it's, I don't
there's
think it's Cinemix. I think it's
Cinemax?
I don't.
Here, I
I,
got
don't
it
know.
right.
Cinemix.
Just show-
Maxon?
Eston.
Why do you have to read his name out? Call him out.
Yeah, he's my. So yeah, there's a whole
We
bag
have-
of chips.
We have friends who are health nuts. I don't think that's the right word verbiage there.
What is it?
Hold on, he's looking it up.
Let's
There's-
do this. Hold on.
Sorry,
You're good.
it made me not eat cinnamon crunch.
I don't know if I want
anymore,
this
which
part
I
on the
love
podcast,
cinnamon
though.
crunch.
I don't know if I want this. Okay, fine.
Well, we've been talking about it, so we have to.
I know, but I don't want to be singled out.
You know what's crazy?
You're not
I
gonna be
can't
singled
find
out.
the article.
I don't want to be singled out.
That's why we fact check things.
Fact check
Okay, if you
things.
just do a basic search,
do a basic search. Can they see?
I
Oh,
only
they can
have
see me.
so many gigs because I have.
Cinema.
Here,
So what
honey.
is it called?
Hold
I don't
on.
have what. I don't have.
I'll do
Here.
this. Hold on.
Anyway, there's a lady that's suing. She was on the Christian radio station. She's suing a macaroni and cheese company for like her macaroni and cheese being too hot.
Did you hear about this?
It's kind of like the spill a cup of coffee, make $1 million song.
From McDonald's.
But I'm like, if she knew about the Cinemix thing, she's probably not even using
Here we go.
that.
This is CBS News.
She'd make way more money.
All right. How do
That's
I get?
just Pepsi.
That's just Pepsi.
Pepsi's probably one of the better ones. It's like the difference between five.
Here,
Okay.
here we
So
go.
this is
This is the
CBS News.
article.
Hold on. This is Pepsi
both.
Bizarro World boycotted over embryonic. How do you say that?
Companies
linked to
sells
Flavor
low-cal
enhance. It's
soda.
flavor enhancers. Look right here.
This isn't even the article I found.
That's the article our friend
That's
sent
crazy.
us.
But
Okay,
there's
so
academic.
I don't even know
journals.
what. I don't even know what news
Published.
organization that is. This is CBS. I'm going to read this.
Okay.
A bizarre controversy is unfolding over an impending low-calorie soda from Pepsi, which company is creating with the help of biotech company Cinemix.
Biotech.
Cinemix.
Numerous anti-abortion groups have started a boycott of Pepsi products because they say Cinemix, which develops new ingredients intended to enhance sweetness and other flavors, has done so by embryonic kidney cells that were originally taken from an aborted baby. This accusation presents a twofold problem for Pepsi. The first, most obvious one, is that the beverage giant has now ardent anti-abortionist breathing down ardent anti-abortionist breathing down its neck. The second, and possibility more troubling issue is that some of Pepsi's attempts to create groundbreaking and healthier products are now associated with fetal kidney cells. What is Cinemix? What Cinemix is up to? Is this claim true? Neither Pepsi nor Cinemix returned calls, so we don't know the company's side of the story. But a parcel of Cinemix patents suggests that it may well be. All but 7 of the company's 77 patents refer to the use of HEK 293, human embryonic kidney cells, which researchers have used for decades as biological workhorses. For the bio geeks among you, these cells offer a reliable way to produce new proteins via genetic engineering. The company appears to be engineering HEK cells to function like the taste receptor cells we have in our mouth. This way, Cinemix can test millions of substances to see if they work as different types of taste enhancers without subjecting human volunteers to endless taste tests.
So basically,
Cray.
that's one article. I just sent you an article, David, that actually goes into like what the
HEK cells?
what Cinemex is, and then
look too far
HEX 293 is. But like basically, like it's a thing that's I haven't seen a lot of research done. So like what I haven't really like told a lot of people, which a lot of people don't handle it well. What I've said is, do your own caution. Like if believe what you want to believe. Like because for me, there's not a lot of research done on it, but there's not things not proving it. So it's kind of like
Just made me want to eat healthier after
that's
that.
kind of what it
But not
did.
like legalistically. Like I
No.
still want to. I would if somebody gave me a pop.
I tried to give you
really
a pop before you got
thirsty.
here.
And I was really thirsty. There was no alternative. And I was held against my will. No,
No, you were not.
I would still, like, I think I had a Gatorade. You had a Gatorade in my car. And I
That's
didn't
true.
make that big a deal about it.
But, like, it just makes you more aware of what you're eating, basically. Like,
Well,
if,
I mean, you should always be aware of what you're eating.
But, like, if they can throw that in a pop, then what are they throwing in our actual food? You know what I mean?
Hey, everyone. So during this episode, I discussed something that would be considered pretty controversial. We bring up an article from CBS talking about embryonic cells that are possibly being used in soda products, or pop, as you would call it here in the Midwest. But primarily, Pepsi is supposedly using these. And it's a conspiracy. However, I do pull up an article and I read a portion of it, but I didn't read enough into it on the podcast. And in doing so, I want to obtain from spreading misinformation. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to read the whole article here right now. And then I'll put the article in the comments or in the description below, and you can look it up for yourself. So it's interesting either way. But yeah, here it is. I'm going to put it on the screen. All right. So a bizarre controversy is unfolding over the impending low-calorie soda from Pepsi, which the company is creating with the help of the biotech company Cinemex. Numerous anti-abortion groups have started a boycott of Pepsi products because they say Cinemex, which develops new ingredients intended to enhance sweetness and other flavors, has done so using embryonic kidney cells that were originally taken from an aborted baby. This accusation presents a twofold problem for Pepsi. The first, most obvious one, is that the beverage giant has now ardent anti-abortionist breathing down its neck. The second, and possibly more troubling issue, is that some of Pepsi's attempts to create groundbreaking and healthier products are now associated with fetal kidney cells. What Cinemex is up to. Is this claim true? Neither Pepsi nor Cinemex returned calls, so we don't know the company's side of the story. But a pre-usal of Cinemex patents suggests that it may well be. All but 7 of the company's 77 patents refer to the use of HEK 293 human embryonic kidney cells, which researchers have used for decades as biological workhorses. For the biogeeks among you, these cells offer a reliable way to produce new proteins via genetic engineering. The company appears to be engineering HEK cells to function like the taste receptor cells we have in our mouth. This way, Cinemex can test millions of substances to see if they work as different types of taste enhancers without subjecting human volunteers to endless taste tests. To non-scientists, this may sound a bit strange, but the reality is that HEK 294 cells are widely used in pharmaceutical research, helping scientists create vaccines as well as drugs like those for rheumatoid arthritis. The difference here is that Cinemex works for Pepsi is one of the first times the cell have potentially been used to create food or beverage. And it's important to note that no part of a human kidney cell are ever a part of Cinemex taste enhancers or any finished food products. When bioscience meets the mass market for Debbie Vinege, who runs the anti-abortion group Children of God for Life, that doesn't matter. It's the you factor. It strikes a really strong reaction in people, she said in an interview. She points to the fact that one of Cinemex patents, not one for a product Pepsi would be using, refers to the way company scientists use mifepristone to get unstable HEK cells to respond. Mifepristone, I might be saying that wrong, being more commonly known as RU-486, the abortion pill. Vinege, who has been campaigning against the use of embryonic cells for years, unearthed the information about Cinemex and HEK by combining through the company's patents. Even though HEK 293 cells trace their origin to a single fetal kidney back in the 1970s, everything has come from cultured cell lines. Vinege considers their use unethical because it indirectly creates a market for aborted fetuses and encourages scientists to hunt for new embryonic cell lines. She argues that Cinemex could use other non-fetus-based cell lines, such as those from animals. Pepsi is not alone. Pepsi is hard is hardly the only company working with Cinemex. Kraft's KFT, Cadbury unit, Nestle, the soybean company Soleil, and the flavor company Ferment also have partnerships, and Vinege and her supports have sent letters to those companies as well. Cinemex says the Nestle is selling products with its flavor ingredients, though it doesn't specify which products. Pepsi, though, remains the biggest and most obvious target. A New Yorker article last month on the company revealed that a new 60% less sugar soda could be out within 6 months. But David Cohen, a Raymond James stockbroker who's been following Cinemex, for several years, says he doesn't expect a product until 2013. Plenty of time for Pepsi to craft its side of the story, should it decide to tell it later. So yeah, guys, that's the article. That's the article I pulled up on the podcast. That's the article that I partially read. I had no ill intent on bringing that up. It was just something that was brought up in conversation, and I thought I probably should read through the whole article amongst releasing this episode, just because I don't want any misinformation out there. I don't want somebody hearing it and then going and repeating it. So anyways, I think if you find that interesting, you should look it up. Obviously, that's an article from a very long time ago. It was 2011 when it was published. So, yeah, who knows how accurate that is. I haven't done the research, and I should have done it on the podcast. But anyways, there's that. Thank you guys for listening, and thanks for your support. Don't forget to like and subscribe this video. If you're listening on Apple, please leave a comment or a review. I would appreciate that. Anyways, enjoy the episode.
Food. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. It just made me really, you're double.
I wouldn't take it too far because you got some global stabilization stuff going on here.
Yeah,
you don't want to mess around too much with that.
I would just kind of leave it.
What do you mean global stabilization?
Well, that's a lot of good infrastructure that has a lot of good purposes for the world. Is these companies
right.
that make all our junk food.
Right.
We need junk food a little bit.
Yeah, but the thing is like they were saying that they were saying Nestle Quick also sells products with that ingredient. Mm-hmm. So Nestle, Kraft.
There's so many. Here, I sent you an article. There's like 90 companies basically. If you have a bag of chips like upstairs or whatever, look in it. It will have Cinemex.
Have you ever seen Gotham City? The whole thing?
No, I haven't.
So there's this one scene where the police guy, he's like, we just have to make the best worst decision. And so they make the best worst decision and have this horrible person lead them. But it was like, that was the answer. Anyways, and it actually makes sense.
You can take what we say, you can take it or leave it, but it just has made us eat healthier and think about it. That's all.
Well, I mean, I guess if anything, at least it had a positive benefit on your guys' health, right?
I guess. I mean, yes. I guess.
Mental health? No.
Because you can't eat squash.
No, it's not.
I don't know. If people still offer me stuff, it's not like I'm going to be like, oh, I can't eat that. I mean, he'll say it under his breath, but like, you know. Like,
there's so many problems with eating different processed foods. Like I was talking about this on the podcast with a guy. His name is Chris West. And we were talking about Oreos, and we looked it up on the podcast. It has, what is it? Glycemia or whatever. It has I can't remember what it's called, but anyways, it's an ingredient that is just as addictive as cocaine.
Oh.
And so that's why you can't. That's why you can't stop eating like Oreos, and that's why you never feel full on them.
But they're so yummy.
Yeah, they are.
So
you just keep eating them. And then you keep getting addicted.
Gosh, why do you have to ruin Oreos, David?
No, thankfully, I don't like the texture.
We didn't have to get that real.
That helps.
I'm just kidding.
I still eat Oreos, so.
Yeah.
I was going to say.
Still got to keep it real.
Stop.
I think David will be down in a whole sleeve of Oreos.
Whenever we buy Oreos, I at least eat one sleeve.
Oh, yeah.
I have to.
Sleeve.
I know.
I indulge a little bit.
I know, right? I like the double stuffed mint.
You lost me.
I think it's funny. Just
you're regular stuffed?
Double stuff. Regular double stuff.
Are you, okay, here's another. You guys will get to know David real quick. Are you I eat the outside cookie and then eat the middle and then you eat the bottom cookie, or do you eat the middle, or do you eat the whole thing?
No, I eat the whole thing. I dip it in like a savage in milk and then I eat it.
No, No.
Sometimes I have to scoop it out with a spoon
See,
and eat it.
Ew, that's where you lost me. Ew, then it's soggy. Ew.
Yeah, I use milk.
He likes milk. See, I'll take it all apart, eat the middle first, then eat one cookie and then eat the other cookie.
See, I don't
but if
play
I'm in
around.
a rush, then I'll eat it all.
I hate candy. I can do no candy my whole life, but cookies, chocolate chip.
Oh,
And I'm
chocolate
just
chip are
done.
good.
Cookies are my downfall. They're so good.
Like homemade chocolate. Have you ever had my mom's homemade chocolate chip cookies? They're amazing.
I'm sure I have at some point,
They're amazing. They're like the
but I'm going to say
in the
no, so
pan.
you have to bring them over.
Do it. See, we
Next
cook
thing you
together.
get a
That's what
knock
we
at
do.
2
Yeah,
a.m.
we can do
We were up, so here you go. Just kidding.
So, anyways, going back to
the-
this baby drink. I'm drinking.
Yep. I love saying that. It's like funny, but you're like serious at the same time. Deep down, you're like,
See,
what am I doing?
This is why I didn't want to bring it up because now people be like, "Oh, look at that." No, just kidding. Whatever.
Well,
fine. If y'all want to judge, be like that.
I don't know. I guess I want to research it more.
I love the Sprite.
Like I said, there's not a lot out. Like I'll send you the articles that our friends sent us that they're accredited, but there's not a lot out. That's
There's basically one with a ton of stuff,
Yeah.
and it's just .org. But then there's like empirical articles on Cinemix,
yeah.
but it's none of them are gonna. None of the empirical stuff is gonna academic. Just Google academic journals. None of those are gonna be actually on websites because they'll probably be taken off
Yeah.
by a company.
Yep.
That's a huge problem with freaking
I feel like
internet.
Sprite wasn't on there though.
Good.
Just to let you know, because I don't remember seeing it on the little website.
We're
I mean,
gonna
it is a
fact
Pepsi
check.
product, though.
We're gonna fact check
But
it
it's
right
less
now
Pepsi
to make you
because
feel
clearly
even
not.
more concerned about
It
yourself.
says Sprite, not Pepsi. It's the
My name is Lauren Harrington. I'm a real estate agent with Century 21, Lemac Realty. Whether you're looking to buy or sell your home, I can help. From the big cities to the small towns and anything in between, I can make your home buying dreams come true. Come join the Century 21 family. Contact me anytime at 989-534-6430 to begin the process. I look forward to hearing from you.
That sounded good.
best worst
Is it
option.
a cat scratching at the door?
I might.
But there's no. I mean, it's cool to maybe explore other options. Like, have you ever the difference between like glass bottled pop and like
It's so much
regular
better.
canned
It
pop?
tastes
Yeah.
so much better.
But it's
It has
like made in
citric
another
acid in
country,
it.
but it's
Yeah,
better.
Mexico.
Yeah, I love it. I do.
So, anyways,
I think you're fine.
I think I'm fine. I mean,
I have citric acid in it though, but yeah.
yeah, but
You're just hurting
That's not
yourself
the
either
mold
way.
citric acid. Right?
don't be like doing that to my drink.
I know.
Like this is zero sugar, zero
illegal.
calories.
It's okay. I
It's a
got really
lemon
zero.
lime,
I got
like-
water right here. Represent.
Yeah, but
right?
we got
This is a
these
free
weird
Sprite
waters.
commercial right here. See, Sprite, free commercial for them.
There you go.
It's good.
No,
It's
to be
guilt-free.
honest with
That's
you
true.
though, like I really like Coke. Like if I was gonna drink a pop, I like Coke. I will admit it, but I try not to drink it all the time because it is not good for you.
You know they used to put Coke
It's better
or
than Diet
Coke
Coke.
in Coke,
Yes.
Coca-Cola.
Yep.
Yeah,
Oh yeah, back in the day.
yeah.
Yeah, I know. I don't drink it that much, but like, man, sometimes a cold Coke on a hot day.
There's nothing better
Yeah, it's in a glass bottle.
in a glass bottle.
You know what I'm saying?
Glass
Yeah.
bottles. I had a teacher.
better.
one
McDonald's
time-
Coke is pretty good though.
Oh, theirs is the best.
they-
Theirs
They have
is the
that on.
best around.
That's on point.
Do you know why it's the best?
Cinnamon.
There's actually a video on it. No.
It's just so ridiculous.
Are you done ruining my show?
Do the ends justify the means? I don't know.
Are you done ruining my show?
Sorry.
Okay, thank you. I actually watched a video on how McDonald's makes their Coke. It's the way they dispense it.
Yeah, that's
Interesting.
It's the way they dispense
What
it. The like the tubes in the machine they use. I don't remember all
Does
the
it
information.
pump a little
but
sugar in it?
I don't know, but it's good.
Well, it's like isn't it made with? Yeah, it's a special container.
Yeah, it's a special container.
we
Like
watched
fast
the
foods are
documentary.
trying to replicate it so they can get that specific taste that McDonald's has, but they can't even touch it.
Did you guys ever watch the documentary on McDonald's and how they
Yes.
took over?
Yes.
Yeah, I think that was actually
Uh-huh.
in the documentary.
No, this is a different one. I watched with my brother.
Yeah, this one was ridiculous. Like it made me not want to eat at McDonald's ever again. Because obviously that's how they became a superpower, but the guy who originated it kind of stole it from the people who actually, the guy who started the chains stole it from the people that originated it.
I just
and-
eat the burritos.
The breakfast burritos?
Like
They're actually pretty
hands down.
good.
I heard a little bit about those, and
There's
pretty
like,
good stuff.
I don't know. once in a while a cheeseburger's good from there, but then I realized like making the meat and actually eating like more not so processed is better. So.
Oh yeah.
But I mean, I don't know.
I mean, it's not real meat.
I think their eggs are
it's
pretty
not.
good. Like, probably have good eggs.
I judge you for that. I used to work there. I know their eggs are not good.
Oh, okay. Maybe in the burrito though, because burrito.
I didn't know you used to work there.
Yeah, back in high school.
I worked at Wendy's for like a week, and I was like,
You worked at Wendy's for a week and then realized
My
when I
friend
worked in
Greg
fast
called me.
food for like a year and almost a half.
You worked at Chick-fil-A though.
I did, but
that's
I
why
could
we
tell you
got
about
them
Chick-fil-A. They're not as good as they say.
yeah,
I mean,
have some issues.
How do they portray themselves? Because I don't really.
Well, now I don't know. I don't want to get too. I would say political or on this podcast, but
we can get political.
They stood
Probably
for
so,
one
yeah.
thing. They stood to be a Christian company, and the founder actually was Christian. And now they're falling into all the other agendas and stuff.
How so?
And,
Like
like,
what agendas?
I would say the LGBTQ, all that stuff.
Okay.
Which, you know, if a company wants to do that, that's fine. But they need to not claim one thing and
How
be
are
doing
they?
another.
How are they getting involved in that?
Well, when I worked, the branch that I used to work at, they would hire people on the higher end of the like working chain. I don't know, however you want to describe it, like managers, things like that, who might be, you know, LGBTQ to try to make it okay when the original founder, that's not really their vision for it. They have documentaries on Chick-fil-A, like how it all started and things like that. And if you look at that, it's kind of like, well, would they be happy to know their companies now? You know, I don't know, but
We were sitting in class, Systematic Theology 2, when I was in seminary. So there's some authority behind this. And the professor's like, you guys, I got something serious to share today. I was going to talk about angels and all this cool stuff, but he's like, Chick-fil-A has compromised. It was just like ridiculous. And so
I don't know. I mean, their food is good.
Their food is really good.
Their food is good. It's still not healthy for you. It has Cinemax in it.
Well,
But
it does?
that's what our friend said. Their fries have Cinemax in it and
Well,
stuff.
okay. So granted, most potatoes, you got to grow that stuff yourself or get organic, because potatoes were on like the dirty dozen list of like bad foods.
But
Even though I love it.
I still eat Chick-fil-A.
But
It's still yummy.
It's just
so,
the
you know,
process,
like-
how they grow them.
well,
with, like,
I mean, the majority
pesticides.
of things in the standard American diet are not healthy anyways.
they're
Like
not.
if you have like simply a salad and you're putting salad dressing on it, it has seed oil in it, and seed oil is not good for you whatsoever. It's like
Yeah.
you might as well be eating car oil. It's like one grade away from being car oil.
Ew.
Yeah.
Thanks
and
for ruining dressing.
I'm just saying, it's like, and same with like
No, that's
Chick-fil-A
good.
sauce
You need
and
the
like
motivation.
ketchup and ranch and all these
I
other
know.
things. Like,
You need to get
yeah.
like mentally ahead of the food game. So
But
you
it's
can
or
like-
eat
or
healthy.
it's cooked in seed oil, like their chicken.
Yeah.
They put it in the frying oil, and it's all seed oil.
Yeah, but it's delicious.
It is delicious. I eat it regularly. Not regularly, but you
Salad?
know.
Or what?
What's
No,
that?
he eats Chick-fil-A
Oh,
regularly.
Chick-fil-A. Yeah.
Not like super
to get away
regularly, but
Yo, call us next time. No, just kidding.
We're like, our friends are like, don't get the sauce. It's something's bad in the sauce.
Chick-fil-A
It's, like,
sauce?
too much sugar.
So one
His
thing-
wife makes the best
Get
Chick-fil-A
extra
sauce.
please.
one thing that really bothers me about Chick-fil-A is that they're overly nice. And like I know that it's not genuine. Like
No,
David.
they hooked up. So this is a little blessing, not miracle. Maybe. Was that the Chick-fil-A
It's just
line?
funny. They're overly nice.
they are. It's it's not
what
real.
If, what if they wanted to be nice?
No, I think they should be nice. And like if I go to McDonald's, I want the same treatment.
Wait.
However,
So you want them to be mean and hand you your cup and be like, "Here you go."
no, I don't want them to be mean. But I don't want them to be like, how may I be of service for you today? Like it's overly
Yeah, I
it's
get that, yeah.
it's overly
Yeah.
done.
They
Well,
didn't even
like-
say their name too.
No.
Oh, like the whole like
No,
my
Andrew,
pleasure.
I don't care that your name is Andrew.
The whole like my pleasure thing. Like I never liked saying that. Like my cousin used to say it all the time before he worked at Chick-fil-A, and then he would say it when he worked there. And I remember turning around on one day, I'm like, "Yo, like that's a little much. Like I don't even like saying it that because it's not my pleasure to serve you. Like it should be, yes." But there's times where it's not.
it just seems like something that's not needed in today's culture. Whereas like just being like nice and being respectful of the customer is would go a long ways. Like
would.
that's something you don't get a lot at McDonald's or like any other restaurant,
that's true.
any other restaurant. It doesn't matter what the place is or anywhere. It could be the store even. Customer service today is terrible.
It is terrible.
So I do kind of respect Chick-fil-A in that manner because their employees are super respectful. But
are.
in another sense, I also find it kind of condescending a little bit because they're forced to be like that.
Wait, so you want it to be terrible and then
No.
terrible. So you can really
I'm complaining without having a solution, all right?
Oh, yeah, I understand. That's like the way.
He just wants to say they're too nice. He wants his drink slammed in front of him and his food thrown at him, you know.
I just want them to be nice, but not overly nice. I want them to be real.
I get that. Some part of me is like,
it's cold here.
I get I get that. Like they're like, my pleasure, and you're like, is it really your pleasure? Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, like I mean, the thing
that.
is, like, you have these people outside standing out there taking orders in the weather. Like, you know that their life isn't like all like hunky dory, like they make it seem. Like, so don't act that way. Just be like, hey, sir, how are you doing today? Like, how can I help you? Like, what would you like to order?
Yeah.
Don't like, how may I
give
be of
them some
service to
nice
you?
coats.
The way you said that, David. Oh, you
Yeah.
just ruined my experience. Now I go to Chick-fil-A. I'm gonna think of that. How may I be of service of you today?
But we're never gonna be able to stop.
What?
I'm just joking. Because
I don't know. Even though I work there and I
Processed.
see their flaws, I still eat there once in a while. Like, it's like,
Yeah.
I don't know. I went through a period, though, like, after working there, I couldn't stand there, smell their food, and I couldn't eat it for a while.
I think that happens to almost any place you work. Whenever it's like a restaurant related, going into a place that you've worked and you've seen kind of the disgusting side of it, you're that smell just kind of gets burned into your nose. And
I'm not saying, like, Chick-fil-A wasn't disgusting, but, like, just they're smelling the fried food all the time.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I could still go for some waffle fries, though. Those never got old. Those never got old. I don't know.
yeah. For me, I'm like an environmental vegan. If you had to categorize,
You're an environmental vegan.
More like theological vegan.
Whatever.
You don't
that in
eat
the same category?
You don't eat meat.
He does eat meat.
I eat meat, so I care more about the manufacturing side and all that. But there's people that take that way too far. And,
So you're all for ethical. Okay.
and within measured, systems. Like if it's a family, mom and pop.
It's more of the
but
mom
it's
and pop
huge,
side than the fast food.
Whatever.
I understand.
Which I get, which is kind of cool to like support a small.
That's actually part of the McDonald's started and they had they bought out a mom and pop chain for the name,
Right.
which there's probably a lot behind the name, but still it was like that mom and pop vibe.
They ended up
that
screwing
everybody-
them out of a deal. Is what they did.
Yeah, and I feel
weren't the
bad for the
nicest.
actual McDonald's family.
Anyways,
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard to get around fast food though in the culture we live in. Like it sometimes, if I can be brutally honest, sometimes it's too much work to cook at home. I'm like why? Like when I can go and get a pizza or whatever. Like, and I can't even imagine having like 2 kids.
Well,
That's the
I
hard
mean,
part. And we're not just going to make PBJs. So that's
Yeah.
what one of the things they said.
Yeah.
They're like, just don't make them PBJs every night. That's like child abuse. Make them food. And like,
Yeah.
but our go-to, we love like stir fry.
I love stir fry.
So that's
It's so
a really
easy, but it's
good,
like
easy.
you brought up local restaurants, and that's one thing. Like by doing this podcast, is I've wanted to support a lot more local people because I've had just recently the other day I had a lady on from the owner of Capital City Barbecue, and she was on Triple D's show, and
That's kind of cool.
yeah, it was really cool. And so she was on his show, but now like she's gone through like obviously the pandemic. She went through like a really bad breakup, and so like she used to own the restaurant with her ex, and he like vowed to just ruin the restaurant. And so that happened like 2019. Then the pandemic happened, so they had to shut down. And then like this year was inflation, and like so they've been just hit hard. So her business is struggling, and she was on the podcast. She's from Vietnam. And she was sharing her story and how she like, it was horrific. Her story's horrific. She was crying, telling her story. And like hearing her story just made me like, just not want to go to any big chains like that. Like Joey was here that night and he was taking his girlfriend out to dinner. And I was like, you should go to her restaurant. Like go to a local place.
Wait,
like,
wait.
local.
I have to stop you. He has a girlfriend?
Yeah, we'll discuss that later.
Hey.
Whoa, hold up. Yo, y'all just leave me out? Okay, fine.
Joey's not part of this podcast right now. He's doing the switching.
I know
of the
he's
cameras,
not, but I
so.
see siblings leave
Wait, did we
siblings
get-
out.
Is
No, I'm just
that
kidding.
actually in there? Wait, come
Y'all are getting it
You
later.
got to switch camera, Joey.
Y'all are getting it later.
Whatever.
Yeah. So Joey has a girlfriend.
We'll talk about
But-
that later. Oh yeah, we're going down to that later.
Keep it PG. Maybe G if you have to. You know what I mean? I'm just
He's so cherry red. It's great.
Oh, that's funny.
Siblings.
So-
Siblings.
How long have we been going? An hour.
So-
We've been going to an hour. So
We can cut it if you want.
no, we're not. We'll ease into it. So you guys are doing this foster care thing.
Yeah.
What is your guys' intentions? Like, are you wanting to do it long term? Are you hoping to adopt eventually?
That's just that's a question in itself. I'm cutting in and out. Okay, I'm not anymore. I know for me personally, like I want to do fostering for a little bit to kind of see what it's like, to kind of get our feet wet, kind of see, the type of cases we'll be working with, the foster parents, like just kind of see how that all works, and like the degree that I'm getting, that's the right word, is human community services. So it's dealing with this. So actually putting my degree into practice in a way, and like working with organizations and kind of seeing how it works. That's kind of where I'm sitting right now. I don't think right now we would want to adopt just because we want to have our own kids at some point. It's not something that I'm not to oppose in the future. I think it'd be really cool. But I think right now just fostering is where I sit. Where do you sit on that?
full logic or just nutshell?
Nutshell.
Okay, nutshell. Kids are great. I love children because God did. Does.
So my husband just wants as many
There's
kids
your
as
nutshell.
possible is basically
Oh my gosh.
where he stands. So, which I respect his opinion, but reality.
No, I mean
So-
logically, I'm like, I don't know, kind of go between like, it's a balance, obviously, but then also, should just whatever, kind of the more free flowing, family is inherently good, so we should probably promote that as much as possible, however that looks. And if this is how it looks, then this is how it looks. If it means have a family like you do, which is, I think, great, then that's how it should look,
I could
But-
see for a minute. He was like, "Well, my family." No, I'm
I mean,
just kidding. He was like,
in
"What
some
do you
ways
say?"
that's really ideal, and for us,
Yeah.
contextually, I guess.
Yeah,
it's
I don't know.
ideal.
Like I said, it's gonna
Could be
kind
fine.
of go by ear. Like we're gonna kind of just see how it goes.
I think you guys are going to get attached to.
Well,
Yeah, for sure.
like how I stand,
It's good.
with that.
No
Like
pain,
I'm gonna
no
get
gain.
kind of spiritual here for a second, but how I see is like, God doesn't call us to do things that are easy, so it's not gonna be easy. And if we don't have some hurt when the child goes back to their parents, is what you want, reunification. But we're not doing our job right if there's not a little bit of pain and a little bit of like that empty feeling.
Right.
Like if we weren't doing our job right, we wouldn't have any of that. And like
No.
I'd rather go through that day and night because I know I did what we were supposed to do.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's kind of where I stand.
I just
on
think that if the opportunity arose to where like maybe the child doesn't have the opportunity to go back and like it leaves the child up for adoption at that point, for me, I know that'd be difficult because I'm like,
Yeah.
like you've taken care of the child, you've cared for it. You're almost essentially the only person it's known up to that point,
right, yeah.
especially being an infant.
It's not gonna, like I said, it is not gonna be easy. I'm not
do.
saying it's gonna be at all.
No, it's not. It's gonna
But
be
like it's gonna be also like very rewarding. Like even if we aren't their parents, I know they were in a safe home, they were in a loving
Yeah.
home, they were shown what parents are supposed to be, what look like, that are stable, who love them, who aren't gonna be going in and out,
yeah.
who aren't abusing them. Like just having that positive influence on life, for if it's 6 months, 6 weeks, 2 days, whatever, like we get to be that beacon of light for them.
Yeah.
And like you said, it is not going to be easy, if we have to decide if we're going to adopt. But I think right now where we stand is, let somebody have that chance. But that could change in a split second.
Oh,
so
absolutely.
I say this way before we have a placement. Watch it be different. But that's kind of where we stand. So,
That's cool.
yeah.
I'm
I don't know.
excited for you guys.
It will be interesting. We'll have to keep you updated. We won't brag, but we'll.
You can
we'll
brag
let
to me. I won't judge.
You could judge a little.
You can judge, but I'll just tell you, you
We
just.
need help.
That's
Need
not
a-
what I would say.
All we can get.
Oof.
Yeah, that's something like foster care is something that I like used to want to do because like I was a part of it, but then now like knowing like how difficult the system is and knowing like all the different hoops you have to jump through and how like of a tight knit system it really is. It's like you're kind of bound by that, and I don't personally want to be a part of that.
I would say like this is just something that I just had a thought, and you can be like, that's not where I see myself, but this is where I'm going to go with this. Like, even though you might not want to be a foster parent yourself, but I would recommend, like, if there's a way you could get involved with that, like, you know, in the human community services aspect. So you're still working with like you're doing right here. You're still working with the community, but you're also making a difference on those kids' lives, but not having the foster parenting role.
Right.
Like, I think that would suit you very well because you have a heart for it. You were in it. You know exactly what they're going through physically, emotionally. Like,
well, I thought about like mentoring, like because I know that like through Catholic Social Services you can mentor.
Oh, that's cool.
Like,
I did not know that. That's cool.
Yeah, you're like a volunteer essentially. You go there and you just kind of like mentor some kids and whatnot.
You'd be great at that.
But life is just
do that too.
Life is too busy right now. So
I get it, but like I don't know. I could see you working with the community that way because you have a heart for it. Like you were in it. You were smack dab in the middle of it. So.
We all were.
I know, but you remember a little bit more than I do, so you have more of a stepping stone.
Yeah.
But
I think another thing is like my mind, and I think other people believe this too in the world, and I don't know about you guys, but I think you we have a similar thinking, but
I would hope so.
I feel like when you get married, it's just like it's just like part of being married. It's like kids are a thing. It's they could not be for some people, and that would
some people are just like career focused.
That's
like,
true. Yeah.
They just want to have some like a significant other, somebody that they can like kind of rely on, but like they're just career focused and they don't want children, you know.
I mean, or you could have somebody
or they
like,
can't have kids.
Yeah, or you could have somebody like me, like in my early teens. I didn't want anything to do with guys. Like I realized I was like, oh, guys are jerks. I was like, after 2-year relationship, I'm good.
True.
Like
guys are jerks.
I'm good. Like I didn't want to get married. I wanted to be the crazy like dog lady, you know. But then Chris came along. That's a different story.
Me, I'm like, what is it? Kindergarten? I was probably like interested in women.
But no, like back to the fostering. Like it's. You know, it's a good reminder, like talking to people, like we're talking to you. Like it's a good reminder, like what a big like task we're given. Like yes, like we don't have a placement right now, but we could any minute. Like it kind of slips your mind when you start to do everyday life. Like when you were like when I mentioned it, you're like, oh, so when's your placement? Like I made me think about it. I was like, oh,
that could happen.
It could happen. My life could be like I could have holding an infant tonight. Like I just don't think about those things. Like people ask me all the time. They're like, oh, are you ready to be a mom? I'm like, are you ever ready to be a mom? Question mark. Like I won't know until we're going through it. Like
I mean, the most you could do is kind of mentally prepare yourself for that moment.
Yeah.
But once you're in that moment, you're not going to be ready.
Exactly.
No matter what.
Exactly.
I mean, even when you have a kid, you're not going to be ready.
But I feel like that's just the awesome adventure of it, though.
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
I don't know. And it's exciting.
It gives me hope knowing that there's people out there who are still willing to like authentically like care for somebody. Because I mean, my experience in foster care was terrible, and I know that there's so many people that just take advantage of the system. There's so many people that want to just do it for the money and do it for wrong reasons. They might have mental illness, or they might not. They might, whatever it is, whatever issues they have in life, they want to take somebody in so they can control them or whatever. But having somebody like you, somebody who's willing to take people in and love them and care for them is very important. And much like your adopted parents too, you know, like they're like a godsend. Like,
oh yeah, like I said, it takes that one person getting out of their. Chris is like, if they were for them, you know, no. I don't know if we would have met. That's what he's thinking of. Anyways,
I still would have met.
I don't think so. You were too much of a rebel. Anyways, so.
Oh my gosh.
Back to fostering, Chris. You know, it took my parents and, you know, people like us stepping out of our comfort zone. Like I said, there's not a lot of resources for, in the process of becoming foster parents. I have found some groups on Facebook that are like foster families, but that's kind of weird because then it's like this connection of like, oh, I can't say really about my case, but we have this child. And it's like,
yeah, I'm good.
I'm good. I'm just gonna, rely on family and friends to support us. Like, that's what we're,
Right.
like, in each other. Like, that's,
But,
I don't know. I mean, groups are great. Like, if that's your thing, cool. But it almost is like what you mentioned earlier. It's almost like a creepy, like, I have
you gotta
this
be careful.
placement. Like,
Yeah.
look at me. Like, and I'm good. Like you said, people do it for the wrong reasons all the time. Family status, like,
Yeah.
just for the looks, buying the clothes. Like, that's all fun. But it's not for that at the end of the day. It's to love them and, to cherish them while they're in your home. And then that way, they're safe, they're mentally okay. People tell me all the time, having a early childhood background, well, infants they can't comprehend what's going on. Well, they might not be able to tell you verbally what's going on, but they can read your emotions.
Yeah.
And so, like, if you're stressed and everything, or if they're in an abusive home, things like that, they're going to feed off of that. And so if they could be in a home where they can be loved and it can be peaceful and calm and they can be themselves, then they're going to be a lot happier and better while they're in your home.
It literally can change the trajectory of their life too.
Yeah.
It can make them a better person.
It can.
I mean, like if you look at like our situation, if we had remained in the same situation through our whole life, who knows where exactly we would be in life. Like for one, we wouldn't live here in Michigan. You would have never met Chris.
Nope.
We would on vacation and be like, hey.
If we'd be living in Lake Worth, Florida, which I don't know if you've ever been to where we live, but it's like kind of a poor community. So we like wouldn't have much in life. Like we probably would have very minimal like opportunities.
Right. Yeah.
And so like I'm thankful, even though like I've gone through all the stuff, all the negative experiences in life, I'm still thankful for where I'm at today. Because if it wasn't for any of that, I wouldn't be the person I am today.
Exactly.
And I mean, even though like I had a lot of negative experiences, like it still kind of helped shape who I was today because I knew exactly what I didn't want to be.
Yeah, and like somebody that's seen like you grow up over time, this is going to be a you moment here for a second.
Oh boy.
But seeing you grow up over time, like to me, it's just like amazing to see like how you're that father that you can be and better yourself for your kids. Like, I don't know, it's just great to watch like from where you came. Like the fact that you were talking about earlier, like, oh, I don't want to have my kids experience this. Like I've seen the effort that you've made to have them have the best life they can. And like you said a minute ago, like if we were still in Lake Worth, Florida, like they wouldn't maybe have met you. Like they might not have been in your lives. Maybe they would have, but it would have been really like different. And like they have a loving and caring father and home and parents. Like, like they have to think about it like that.
Yeah.
That's a big deal.
Just got deep.
That was deep. Let's end with that. Is there anything else you guys want to talk about real quick?
No, I think we're good. Thanks for letting us be on your podcast.
Yeah, this was fun. Let's do it again.
Okay.
Maybe. Oh, thanks. Appreciate that. Maybe when you guys get your first placement and find out how things go, maybe you come back and talk about like the experiences of it. And obviously we don't have to get personal about that, but like just kind of talk about like how like, cause obviously like your perceptions of it now are going to be different than like after you get a placement.
Oh yeah.
And so like, who knows, maybe it won't go so good and you might be like, yeah, this isn't for us.
Yeah. I don't know. There's going to definitely be trial and error. Like there are going to be cases that are going to be easier than others. But like I said, God doesn't call us to do things that are easy. So it's not going to be easy.
Anything worth doing in life is never easy.
It's not, but it's worth it. But it is so worth it at the end.
Anything that you put effort into and that you're passionate about is always worth it.
It is. And it always
worth the hard work.
Yeah. And it sometimes reaps what you sow. So it sometimes comes back and you can see the abundance it's brought.
Yeah.
So there you go.
There we go. That's it. Thanks, people.